we'll get started. Yesterday worked really good for me to find out which bills people care about, and then we could talk about them. So just for the audience, but most of them, everybody was here yesterday, but that every bill is going to, the motion is either recommended or not recommended for future legislation. But they took away the recommended with amendment. We don't have that option anymore. So therefore, every bill has to be, that we have right now, has to be perfect, ready for prime time for us to recommend for future legislation, which of course none of them would be. That's why they were interim studies in the first place. So what we are going to say, I do want to do as a chairman of this committee, is that these are some issues that we need to drill down, we need to understand more, we need to do more homework on. And so that we will have subcommittees, and I'm going to tell you right now, even before we talk about anything, that Senate Bill 353 relative to the autism spectrum and House Bill 1571, the glucose, are two bills that we are definitely going to be doing subcommittees going forward on. So the only thing we'll be discussing today is who's going to serve on that subcommittee going forward. But other than those two, is there any bill here that someone would like to share? Otherwise, we'll just go right to, okay, yes, sir. Oh, you're a rep, so yes. I'm not sure I know your name, so. The liquor. Yes. Well, that's, we'd like to, yeah, we'd like to have you speak on that one. Okay. And anybody else? Yes, sir.
Hi, Will Walker, Hollis, New Hampshire. I'm here to support SB 353 and the subcommittee.
Yeah.
So what other information would you need before going into the
We're,
subcommittee?
when we get into subcommittee, it's going to be a free-for-all discussion.
Okay, thank you very much.
Right, so just show up for when that happens. Okay. All right. So that's it. Okay. So why don't you come up and do the liquor one that you sponsored?
I haven't seen the video, but I heard the audio and liquor.
Thank you,
Good morning.
Chairman Hunt, members. I appreciate a couple of minutes to revisit this bill. The original bill that was submitted, I'm so sorry. So that would be House Bill 1621, requiring the state liquor stores to distribute information on alcohol use disorder. I don't think that's the official title. Sorry, I don't have it in front of me. I wanted to comment. I know the bill was sent to interim study, and in the final session before that vote, Chief Armaganian and the chairman of the State Liquor Commission basically agreed to voluntarily create a video to run in all of the state liquor stores on a loop, and committed to doing that within 6 months. And that has come to pass. It was, I think, a great outcome for the bill that I had submitted, even though it wasn't the outcome that I had intended in the legislation. So I wanted to make sure it was clear that this, I see, to commend Chairman Hunt, his original reaction to me when we first discussed this was, I'd love to do this without legislation. And so something significant happened without legislation. So thanks for sort of sparking that. The video that was created was I think quite good. It was empowering, it was hopeful, it was non-stigmatizing, it was action-oriented. I hope it makes a difference. And I just want to say the best part of that video for me is the last line of that video, which says, "This message brought to you by the New Hampshire State Liquor Commission." It's a mission. It's a message about seeking help and the availability of help coming directly paired from the groups that from the agency within the state that distributes liquor. And I feel like both of those phenomenon, the use of alcohol in our society and the inevitable problems that a small portion of people have with alcohol, are really inextricably paired together. And I loved seeing that we are, for the first time, sort of finding ways to use our state's connection directly with the people who, would be coming in possibly on the most frequent basis to make sure that they know that help is available and where to get it. I will end with saying I hope it's a first step, because I feel like there's a great opportunity. There's many people who work trying to market in general these concepts to the public, trying to find the people who need them when we have this opportunity of folks coming through the door of state liquor stores on a routine basis. And that's probably the vast majority of those that need to be reached. I'd love to think that there could be more. Obviously, the bill that I brought forward had the concept of something that people take out of the store, be it on the back of receipts or many of the ideas that sort of were floated on a very low cost, low effort basis, just to make sure that it's not just those 30 seconds while that person, is in the store for, to purchase something, but that something will go home. And even if it gets thrown away 100, 200 times, maybe one day they will see it, pick it up, think about these questions, these issues, and take action, because really that's the goal for me, is getting people to recognize the problem and avail themselves of the existing resources. Again, I think it, as was discussed, very low cost to the state to implement some of these things, and doesn't even require sort of an active role of anyone within the liquor stores to achieve. So I'm hoping that there could be a way forward for this, and again, unclear still to this day what does and doesn't require legislation, how much needs to be done by authorization, how much can be done voluntarily, how to lock in these concepts. I know it's funded by a grant from outside the state currently. Love to see what's been achieved sort of, become part of the standard operating procedure. So that's my thought. I'm, again, very grateful for what happened and hopeful that it's the beginning of, a new way forward where, I'd love to see our state be sort of recognized as one of the states that is most proactive and most on top of this connection between alcohol and the inevitable issues. So that's my thoughts. I'm glad to answer anything if anyone has a question.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's appropriate.
Yep.
I'd like to add, thank you very much, Representative. I'd like to add that I haven't seen the video in any of the stores at any time, but I do hear a public service announcement on the radio playing in the liquor stores, and I think that is more effective than the video, because you hear it while you're in the store and you're not standing in front of a screen. So kudos to the Liquor Commission for doing that as well.
Yep, and I visited the store with several people who are very interested in this, and the reaction of all of them was that it's very good. Again, I think the most difficult part is, it's a limited contact with someone, at a time when they have another agenda, which is to purchase something, and I'd love to find a way to extend that. But that's a great thought. Thank you for that.
Representative Gibbs.
Thank you. And thank you for coming in this morning. My question is about the usefulness of putting something on the receipts when people buy liquor in the state liquor stores. I know that was a major part of the discussion during the original hearing on the bill, whether it was practical, how much it would cost, and so forth. But my question is based on the fact that I've been in a state liquor store a couple of times fairly recently, and sometimes the cashier says, "Do you want the receipt?" And a lot of the time I just say no, so I don't even see the receipt at all. And even when I take the receipt, I have to tell you, it's that long. And so far as I can recall, I have never, ever actually looked at it. And I imagine that's true for most people. So my question is, do you still think that putting something on the receipt would be useful?
Thanks. That's a great thought. The way I originally drafted this bill, it left it quite open in terms of how the liquor stores would distribute this information, and the information would include, in my vision of that, two parts. One is a short series of questions to help you consider whether or not you are someone who might need help. That's always step one in someone seeking help, is recognizing it. And then the second part was the referral system. At the time it was up in the air between 988 and 211, but either of those mechanisms already exist, and the programs behind it already exist. The idea behind something like receipt, and I totally agree, every time I go to CVS I leave with 6 feet of paper, is that the people who most need this are probably coming in on a very frequent basis, so this won't be one receipt, it will be many, many receipts. And it might not be the person who purchases it. It might be a family member or a friend who picks that up and says, hey, this is something that sounds like you. The other question is, if they don't take the receipt, there's electronic receipts if they're distributed that way. If there's not electronic receipts, so be it. I know there was some resistance to the idea of including some sort of a card. There's a couple of other folks here who might have some ideas of other materials that are very low impact or low cost that already exist that could be utilized to further lessen the burden on the state. The idea is just to put something in someone's hand that, with repeated messaging and repeated use could lead them to take action.
Representative McAleer.
Thank you, Chairman. Just a quick question. Is this video playing in all liquor stores? Because I've never seen it, and maybe I'm just not going into the liquor store enough. I don't know.
I won't comment on the second part, but it is playing on all stores that have screens, which is not all stores from what I understand. But in the stores that I visited, there are multiple screens, and it alternates between sort of promotional, roughly 30 seconds I can see of promotional content around sales or other items, and then it alternates back and forth to this 30-second video. And the video does not call out in any way alcohol specifically. It's about reaching out for help in the broader sense. And again, I think that may be why I'm speaking here, is that I would love to find a way that content could stay with the customer as they leave, in a way that gives them other opportunities to connect.
Representative Patusek.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Representative, for bringing this bill. I live in Derry. We have a new liquor store. And I took the opportunity a couple of weeks ago to spend some time just viewing what's going on. I saw the video. I was there for like 15, 20 minutes. I saw the video twice. And the audio will be great because it kind of works into your subconscious, whether you know it or not, you're listening to it. And I counted the number of people at 2 registers that took receipts over 15 minutes. It's 3 people.
Yep.
And everybody was offered them. Nobody took them except 3 people. I always take mine because my wife will kill me if I don't. But what you brought forward, I believe, is working from my point of view. And with the Liquor Commission, and I think New Futures might have had a little piece of it. Thank you very much, would you believe?
And thank you for offering the receipt, pre-printed receipt idea as a would you believe initially on this. Again, I'm totally agnostic to how this content gets distributed. I think the receipts were an idea. They may be an idea of a bygone era. Again, hopefully we can find ways to further deepen this kind of collaboration.
Follow up?
Sure.
Just for a minute.
Further question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And if you save one life, it's worth it. Thank you.
Couldn't agree more.
Okay, we'll wrap it up. I guess I only have one comment.
Yes.
and it's related to a different issue, which is marijuana, that this is only possible because we have a controlled state with state liquor stores.
Also completely agree. It gives us a absolutely unique opportunity to go further than many other states can go in terms of addressing sort of the known consequences of alcohol for small segment of society that experiences difficulty. Thanks. And there may be a couple other folks that came today, but if that's all.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Yep. So is anybody else would like to weigh in and tell about how great 1571 turned out to be? Yes. Kate, come on down. Since Representative Patusek mentioned New Futures, you probably want to tell us what New Futures did for this.
Good morning. My
video.
name is Kate Fry from New Futures. I'm so sorry. I'm not in back to school mode. I forgot my badge today. I'm very sorry about that. I'll be very brief. I want to thank Representative Tour for introducing the legislation and for this committee to helping find a non-legislative solution, and particularly for the Liquor Commission. I have to say New Futures didn't have as big a role as the Liquor Commission and the Department of Health and Human Services incorporating the Strong as Granite campaign so that we know it's evidence-based and that the messaging is spot on. My only request down the line, and it doesn't necessarily have to be legislation, is that we do think about the sustainability of this. The Liquor Commission was very grateful to offer this, to do this, but we don't know if that will be forever. So I think it'd be helpful to see the effectiveness and consider this in future budget requests. So
You can take that up with finance when they do their budget. Yeah, if anything, I would say we want to expand it to include 988. Make sure 988 is being presented. So I will pass that on to the commission. So,
Are we gonna make a motion today on this?
no, we'll take everything on one day when we bam them all out some other time. Okay, that's it for 1571. Is there any other bill other than 353 and 1571 or 1621? Anybody else would like to talk about? Speak now or forevermore hold your peace. Okay. All right, so let's talk about the subcommittee for these two bills. I assume you want to be on the subcommittee of these two bills? Okay. Yes, you put your mic on, please. Comment.
I want to make a comment. In researching in doing some research on the situation with Down syndrome kids, I went to the National Institutes of Health and also the CDC. And New Hampshire has a population of 1,800 people with Down syndrome. That's the total population. We get about 20 Down syndrome kids a year. That's the total. We are not talking about a huge number of people. Of the kids that have Downs, according to the National Institutes of Health, 16% have also a co-diagnosis of autism. That's 16%. Another 16% have autism-like symptoms. In other words, they have symptoms, but they're not severe enough to be considered autistic. Those are the kids that we're having a problem, and also other behavioral issues. The other problem that I saw, so the rest of the Down syndrome population of young people, and this adaptive behavior kind of things only work for young people. It doesn't work for older people when we get, I mean, I can't picture somebody changing me at all. It's too late for me. But, you know, it only works for young people. So we're not talking about a large population. And I think it is our responsibility to do something about these kids and help them as best we can. Because if we don't help them now, when they become adults and they have not received the proper training or anything we can do, then we're stuck with a much worse problem. And so I think it's very important that we extend this legislation eventually and get this covered. And the other thing, I've spoken to the medical director of Anthem, and the application of whether or not there's efficacy involving this kind of behavioral analysis, it hasn't been updated in quite some time. And so I'm not clear on how valid that is, you know. So, and kids are being turned away. And and this is another point. Massachusetts has done a study because they're working on a law very similar to ours, and it comes out to about 18 cents. So for 18 cents, it's a very good bang for the buck. So I'm hoping that we can put together some kind of legislation that works.
When you say turned away, who's turning
There,
away? Who's,
we have someone here who can talk about that. There are kids who are not being covered under their insurance is not covering them.
they applied for the insurance company
Right.
didn't cover it. Got it. Okay.
And as I say, if you don't cover them now, we're going to have a much worse problem later because the kids aren't going to get better.
Okay. All right. So we will. I will appoint. Who else would like to be on this subcommittee? Okay. Okay. I need some Republicans. Okay. Anybody else? I will be running the subcommittees.
Oh, so you want to be there? 3 and 2.
It's right now. We're at 2 and 2. Well, I would just have to find another Republican. So, but you can obviously show up. I mean, subcommittees does not limit. You know. Obviously there will be put in the calendar when you urge everyone to show up and be informed. So,
Mr. Chair, the other, the liquor bills that are at the bottom of the list.
yeah.
Could we just, what happened to these bills? I mean, they're in interim study, so we no longer need them if we're not discussing them, or I don't know. I don't remember what the outcome was.
Yeah, right. I mean, I guess like I like 1374. That was Representative Sullivan's bill.
Okay. Yep. Yep. All right. And then the consumption of alcohol in performance areas.
Are we done with the other one?
Yeah, right. So right now it's going to be Hunt, Spear, Bulio, and Walsh. Okay. So yes, we're done with that. So now we're just going through. Okay. Well, in terms of relative oversight, liquor commission funding and repealing the liquor commission fund,
No, I'm good with
does
that one.
anybody want to do that?
No, I think
Okay, I
just that
didn't
one's
think
better.
so.
All right.
Okay.
1582.
The relative to allowing for consumption of alcohol in artist performance areas, we did address that in a different bill. Yeah, we did
Okay.
address that.
Okay.
Yeah,
And then.
that's where we killed several birds with one stone.
Okay. And then the labeling of THC. Where, the last one. 180.
Okay.
Do we have a similar bill as that?
Dad got taken care of on different legislation. The
It is labeled now.
it was about the Delta 8s
Yes.
and Delta 9s.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
Did it?
yeah, they got stuck in a different bill.
And so they are,
Believe me, anything that says Senate bill, the Senate took care.
yeah, but yes.
The sunset was repealed. Exactly. That's what the right answer was. And then cannabis, I just assume there will be other people putting new bills in. So I know. Whether this committee will get it anyway. So we'll get it, hopefully. But you never know. They might send it to another committee. They might send it to Ag.
Oh,
Who knows what happens on that? But okay. Does everybody else feel comfortable that the rest of them are going to be not recommended? We got these two, and so we're good. Thank you all for attending, and pay attention to the House calendar, and these bills will show up there. And I'm missing my gavel, but we're adjourned. Oh, Representative Gibbs, yes.
Sorry. Could you tell us who's on the subcommittees?
Yeah, well, I didn't bring my notes in from yesterday, but
No, I just meant the two for today.
to 2 days, Hunt, Spear, Bulio, and Walsh.
For both of them?
Yes.
Thank you.
Post, excuse me. Okay.
What was the number of the second bill other than the autism? What was the number of that?
The 1571. Three five three. These two health insurance mandates, and that's why I'm putting them into one subcommittee because they're both health insurance mandates.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, so okay. Off the record question. You want to? Yeah. All right. We move to adjourn. We're done.